the fastest way to earn money? Um,
Of course. The main question of every independent solo auditor.
it's a joke. It's a meme on Twitter that
Yeah.
every day there is a new L2 and new lending and borrowing.
In Web3, you have the closest way to steal user assets.
It's hard, man. It's hard to find the time. Once you get the solo audits rolling, once you can, prove to someone that you can deliver, then you're just constantly going to get booked with new.
Hey guys, this is a hacking proof Web3 security podcast, and today with you, as always, your host Alex and our guest Josip, aka Windhustler, ex Petroleum engineer, Solidity developer, associate security researcher at SpearbitDAO, and the guy who has managed the FE project holding millions in TVL. Hi, Windhustler, how are you?
Hey Alex, thanks for the crazy introduction. I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, pretty good. What about
Amazing.
you?
I'm good as well. It's pretty good weather. Almost the end of the summer, but still happy to host that new episode with you. Thank you for joining. And I will start from stupid questions. Sorry. What does it mean being a ex petroleum engineer? What were your main responsibilities? I mean, what is that?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, this is a field I think most people are not kind of familiar with. But my background is actually in petroleum engineering. So I studied like petroleum engineering in faculty of Zagreb. So I have like a master's and bachelor's degree in that field. Um so I actually kind of spent a few years working as petroleum engineer, and this is like a hard engineering discipline. So you kind of study a lot of math, a lot of physics, thermodynamics, fluid mechanics, and so on. And you also work. You usually go to the fields where the oil and gas is being produced. You do some measurements. Usually these are like temperature and pressure measurements, and then you go back to the office and kind of draw some charts and analyze stuff and so on. So this
Okay.
is this is mostly the work of a petroleum engineer. I used to
Okay.
do this for I used to work like 2.5 years in this big corporation, which kind of does everything oil related. So yeah, that's kind of the work in a nutshell.
Yes, sounds like something very complicated, not what we usually do in, in Web3 sphere. Is it somehow close to programming or not at all? I
I
mean,
wouldn't say.
did you had an experience in programming before, like coding or something?
So I actually taught myself how to code during faculty. I only did some programming in Fortran, so but this was like just some basic stuff. So I didn't know anything. And with regards to like how similar is it to programming? I mean, it's a similar type of mindset. You need to solve an engineering problem.
Yeah.
And actually, what I was funny enough, what I was working in a department as petroleum engineer called well testing. So as I told you, you would test stuff and then analyze it, which is, I would say, similar to what I'm doing now. So right now also I get like a code base, I need to analyze it and I need to test it. So even if these are like totally different engineering disciplines, you kind of have this mindset, this approach to solving engineering issues. So yeah, I would say it was quite useful to have like an engineering background and then transition into programming. It's much easier than if I had like a degree in, I don't know, in like history or something like this.
Yeah,
So
it makes
yeah.
sense. Okay, and what actually forced you to change your main occupation and start dig into uh, IT? I mean, did you work before Web3 in as a developer or something?
Yeah. So what started me? I mean, it's a long, it's a long story, but you know, long story short, I just got fed up with the work because I was kind of tied up to a big corporation. You know, a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of bullshit to be honest. So uh, I just kind of seen the IT industry where you could work in a startup, you can start your own company, you can freelance, you can work from wherever you want. The industry was kind of flourishing at that point. The crypto was starting to boom. So I I transitioned into software engineering. This was around 2018. So the crypto was booming, the AI field was booming, but I kind of ended up just learning like Android and Java development. So these were the first few years of my career. So I was just like I ended up doing some enterprise Java job. Not really exciting, but it was kind of the first stepping stone
Yeah.
into the
So
software engineering.
yeah.
So yeah, it was useful.
So you change it one big corp to another one, but but with different approach. Okay, it makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
And how did you found the Web3? Why did you decide to switch into that sphere after the software engineering on Java?
Yeah, so this was like 2020. And it's I was like looking for a new job. I was working at enterprise, Java job, and it wasn't the best work to do. So I was looking to switch. I was looking to switch my job, and
Okay.
then there was an opening for a blockchain developer in a small startup in Croatia. So
Hmm.
I've kind of applied there, went through some like a few simple like programming tasks, had a few interviews, and that's how I landed my first job. Unfortunately, I wasn't doing that much actual blockchain developing over
Hmm.
there. I was more like they had this backend system written in Kotlin, which was better than Java, uh, but
What do
still,
you think about Java, by the way? I
I mean,
believe like there are a lot of haters of that. I believe I'm in that camp as well. But what is your opinion?
it's very good as a first like programming language. You learn these design patterns, but the language is very verbose, so that's the first issue. And then usually, you have these massive frameworks. I was using Spring Boot,
Yeah.
a lot of setups, a lot of external dependencies. Something is constantly breaking. So uh, this wasn't like for some people they love to troubleshoot these types of issues all day long. For me it was okay, but it wasn't something I wanted to do long term. But it was a good stepping stone. As I said, Java is a very solid like first programming language, I
Yeah,
would
yeah,
say.
you
So
can learn a lot from them, but yeah, it's crashing all the time. I mean, like if you're in startup, it's better to start not with Java because you will spend much more time on debugging than the real delivery of features. But it's
yeah,
solid, yeah, for enterprises and big projects because, yeah, of course. What do you
yeah.
think?
Sorry,
What? Yeah,
sorry.
sorry, sorry.
What's your background, by the way? You mentioned you also kind of have
Oh
a
damn!
lot.
Yeah, yeah. I also had a background as a software engineer, but I started with a Python. After that, I switched myself into DevOps stuff.
Mhm.
I really like hardware and setup of infrastructure and all, etc. Yeah. Uh, After some experience as a DevOps, I switched myself into general security. It's penetration testing,
Hmm.
also code review, more red team stuff like attacking. And then I discovered Web3. So I really like that idea behind that. In Web3, you have the closest way to steal user assets. When you're dealing with general cybersecurity, it's pretty complex to actually get those money. Even if you got an access into the bank infrastructure, you still have a lot of restriction. Like bank transfer may go from one account to other even several days sometimes. They have a lot of restrictions like on amount of transfer and everything around that. But in crypto, like okay, Dev did one mistake and you can steal everything in one transaction. So it's really excited, and that's why I jump into it. So yeah, it's also long story short, but this is how I became arrived here. Uh, I have another question. What, in your opinion, is was the most complex step in transition into Web3? I mean, for you, uh, what challenges you faced during those transition from Kotlin, from Java software engineer, from Kotlin software engineer into Solidity auditor or developer?
Yeah, so actually my steps were from Java Kotlin to Solidity,
Mhm.
and then I did Solidity for about 2 years. Then since last year, I've kind of transitioned into security. Um, I would say it was quite easy. So if you're used to doing like either Kotlin, Java, or any other like object oriented language, uh, Solidity is pretty straightforward. In Java you have you have classes. Here you have like contracts. Uh, there are some like differences. Obviously, with Solidity, you need to write like really optimized contracts. You need to kind of design the storage layout appropriately and so on.
Yeah.
It's not something which you would do in Java. But these are, I would say, minor details. The thinking process is the same. So with Solidity, you just have like a bunch of contracts
Yeah.
interacting, and you have some design pattern. The same thing with Java. Even people who come from like enterprise, Java background, they're used to these enormously big systems, and then you come to Solidity, and then you have like 2,000 lines of code is considered, a really complex, a
Yeah.
really complex project. So yeah, it was quite straightforward. There weren't any like major hurdles there. Like
But what do you think is was the developer experience useful for you when you decided to switch into auditor? I mean, like some people asking, like, do I need to have an experience in software engineering or any programming languages to be a good as an auditor? And it's kind of complex question because I seen a lot of use cases where people with no experience started to do audits and doing them well, but some people answering like, no, it's impossible, you need to know basics, like it will helpful for you. And what do you think, like you had a pretty solid experience in development before, and is it useful for you during your main job right now?
yeah, so for me it was like really useful, because especially as a Solidity engineer, Solidity developer, you spend a lot of time on testing. You spend a lot of time on analyzing the system, around discussing maybe some like tax scenarios or design in general. So for me, it was like extremely, I would say extremely useful. What was maybe less useful was all that experience, although also useful but less useful, all that experience prior to being a Solidity engineer. So you deal with SQL, you deal with Docker, with this and that. You don't need most of these things to be an auditor. Even I see some people they approach like auditing like they would approach programming. They spend like more time I don't know drawing diagrams than actually trying to break the system, which is you're not designing the system. You're trying to break it. So you got a fixed system. Your only role is to break it. So even some patterns of thinking can be like bad, for auditing. So some patterns which you pick up as a software
As a
developer.
developer, yeah. But definitely
Obviously,
you go ahead. Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. Sorry. Obviously, when you're auditor, you need to write POCs. It would be good if you know how to use these popular like frameworks for testing, like Foundry and
Yeah.
Hardhat. So this is all beneficial, if you're coming from a software engineering background. This will be quite easy. I mean, I can imagine that someone without like software engineering background, I even think for these people, it's much harder to like learn Git, learn all these like tools which you take for granted if you have like engineering background, than just simply breaking the system. So so in short, very beneficial to have a software engineering background. But if you want to be an auditor, the best thing is to focus on auditing,
Yeah,
breaking as many,
definitely.
just learning these patterns, learning how to recognize vulnerabilities faster, just learning how to progress faster when you're auditing. I think this is the most useful thing. Now, not to focus too much on other aspects.
Yeah, definitely, because sometimes you don't need even to look at the whole code base. If you can build a graph in your head with most sensitive endpoints or most sensitive function, when you can create a hack scenario or something, it will help you to focus on sensitive stuff. I believe that extremely useful is to know how to write tests for smart contracts, because it will help you with understanding. I mean, like, it's pretty common that to have like half 50% test coverage for most of crypto projects, and just by writing test cases you can find a lot of issues. Like, okay, I will try to cover more, and it helping sometimes. Uh, so uh, what did you bring to switch from Solidity developer to auditor?
Yeah.
What
So
was the
for
point?
me, I already mentioned when I was doing Java development, big frameworks, a lot of troubleshooting of some external systems. I didn't like that. With Solidity, it was much better because you troubleshoot less. You spend like more time just writing code and testing it. But still, my favorite part was analyzing something. Analyzing the system, also writing like that's trying to break something. So uh, at one point, I kind of decided, okay, maybe I should try this auditing. Luckily, I was on. I opened the Twitter account, and I've seen some of the guys. Pasho was probably the one who kind of motivated me. uh, I've seen people post that it's possible to have like a freelancing career
Mhm.
as an auditor, and that path was, it attracted me. So I find that like really interesting. So and just to give you a sense of time, this was so I quit my full-time job last year in July. So somewhere around March, I was starting to think about this possibility. So it all kind of everything kind of fit together. So I've seen that it's possible. There's multiple sources of income if you're like a freelance auditor. I already really liked auditing, or liked like analyzing and doing PR reviews. So it was a very logical step for me, to be honest, at that point.
But why did you decide to start as a solo auditor from very beginning, not like try to find a company which specializes in that? Uh,
Yeah. So um, I mean, I have spent the like prior to that, like working. I was working in multiple companies,
hmm,
so it always ended in the same way. You usually just communicate with a few people within the company. You have your like daily work. It's a typical nine to five. I just like the lifestyle of a freelancer, so it seemed like really interesting. It seemed you communicate with a lot of people. You're presented with a lot of issues. It was just like in general. I've considered that like also be the best option for my personal growth. So I knew that if I would join a security company, I would probably need to start maybe from a lower rank.
yeah,
So
less a
this was
junior.
kind of
Mhm.
logical. Also at that time, competitive audits were really popular. Also, they're popular today, but I think they were kind of gaining in momentum, gaining in popularity last year. So I was kind of ready to start doing competitive audit, winning winning first places and
Yeah.
so on. So everything kind of fit together, I would say. And there was
So,
a lot of hype, also a lot of hype on Twitter. People
yeah,
were
yeah,
kind of sharing how much money they were, and
yeah, yeah.
people were sharing.
Leaderboards are everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. So yeah, it was logical, I think.
uh, if I'm not wrong, you started from open contests on Code Arena. Is it correct? Yeah. And
Yeah,
your first contest was Tapioca DAO. Yeah. Which place you get there?
yeah. So I got third place on
Third
that.
place on very first open contest. It's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
good result.
yeah.
Any tips? What was what what was the key? How to get there? I mean, like many people don't even get like top 20 during the first contest, but third one is pretty good, pretty good. Any tips for beginners how to reach top 3 during the audit?
Yeah, well, I wish I could say that I was a mastermind, just cracking my first contest, and it was like that. But that whole year, I've in the startup I worked with, we're building cross-chain index products on top of
Mhm.
Layer Zero. So I did a lot of heavy testing of Layer Zero, and I knew some pain points that Layer Zero has. So
Okay.
every protocol that integrates with it needs to kind of work around these issues. So I literally jumped on my first Code for Arena contest, and I'm seeing these red flags, these issues that Tapioca has there, and these were kind of deeply rooted issues, not very easy to find. But as I've said, I've spent some time, previous like just exploring Layer Zero. So I was able to land a lot of like solo issues. One tip I could give is I didn't cover the whole code base, and this is probably the best tip for if you're doing competitive audit. It's not a private audit. You don't need to cover everything. It's best just to find a few weak spots. This
Mhm.
is usually a lot around external integrations. or some complexity, complex, functions which are supposed to do multiple things. Just focus there, spend the whole competitive on that, and you're more likely to find solo issues. So yeah, that would be kind of the tip how
Yeah.
to do competitive audits.
Focus on what you are doing the best. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Also, if you have some friend, if usually if you studied in depth, some very popular protocol. In my case,
mhm.
it's layer 0. For other people, it might be, I don't know, Uniswap v3 or some other protocol. Then you have like a really good advantage as compared to other people who won't be able
Yeah.
to figure out everything in like 4 or 5 days, or 2 weeks, depending on the duration of the contest.
Yeah, definitely. And since no, and it's better to choose something popular because most of new projects forking them, like
Yeah,
building something
yeah,
on top. And if you are really good in even in something not very common, you can get good money, earn good money on that. Uh, Okay. As I know, I seen in your Twitter that you build your own methodology to auditing layer 0 specialized projects. Yeah, or is it correct or not? I
so
don't know.
I wouldn't
Like
call it
tips and tricks. What is that?
yeah, I wouldn't call it like methodology. It was just some tips and tricks, and like common weak spots you should look for if you're auditing such a project. Usually with these cross-chain protocols and these messaging protocols, a lot of things revolve around gas, since usually you submit a transaction on one chain,
Mhm.
and then you're paying for some gas amount that the real layer is going to submit that transaction on another chain. Now there are various designs, with even with layer 0, v1, v2, and these other messaging protocols like Wormhole, Hyperlane, and so on. That they all have some kind of quirks, some things that are easy to mess up if you're
Uh-huh.
integrating. So yeah, I've tried to kind of compile a list of these types of issues,
Mhm.
but they're kind of always repeating, so everyone
Yeah.
is every other protocol is usually making them, but cross chain apps are I would say fairly complex usually. So
Oh. Mhm. What
there
is
are
your opinion is the most complex part of integrating the messaging protocol as layer 0, for example?
I usually there's this weak point around
Yeah.
gas. Then
We
usually
are looking for alpha to get first high, So share your experience. Where to look at first?
yeah, usually look for like gas related issues, how the user is paying for gas. Then look for like ordering of transactions, so if transaction A is submitted on one chain, and then another transaction is submitted, these transactions need to be like orderly
Ah, yeah.
delivered on the destination chain, or they can have some unordered delivery. This is usually designed on the application level, so then check if there are some issues there. um, then what else? I mean, it's usually like specific to the messaging
Yeah, definitely.
protocol, to be honest. So also look for issues with like encoding. Usually the protocols mess up something with the coding, or like granting of allowances on the destination
Mhm.
chain, or like front running some kind of
Ah,
permits.
yeah.
There are some issues with this. Also, like layer 0 also offers some like capabilities that you can utilize, so protocols aren't aware of this, so maybe they don't implement, maybe they should implement something but they haven't implemented. um, Yeah, so it's usually around these. I would say around these points.
Okay, so looking for gas issues, looking for allowance issues, encoding, and what else? I
Like
forgot the
delivery, is
first.
it like ordered, unordered
Oh,
delivery? So yeah.
okay, order and order delivery. Okay, now we are settled. Let's look for a project for audit. By the way, what do you think? Which is uh, which is more? Which projects are more vulnerable? Which integrate wormhole or layer zero? Which you like most?
uh, Layer zero v1 had a hell lot of issues, to be honest.
Okay.
So layer zero had this design where on the protocol level they have this nonce ordering of nonce, so transactions
Yeah.
are always ordered. But then on the application level, you need to design it so it either remains ordered or it's unordered. And I'm yet to see a protocol that doesn't mess up something.
With
And it's
that, yeah.
hard if the receiving logic is complex, then it gets all
Yeah,
over
yeah,
the place.
definitely.
So
Actually,
wormhole,
then,
I
yeah.
think, yeah, wormhole is I think more straightforward, and layer zero is v2 has a similar like design. The protocol design is similar to wormholes. So at least in the context of integrating with
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Like messaging protocols are actually one of the most complex projects in Web3 ecosystem right now. Of course, and that's why they are offering the biggest bounties on the market. Like Layer Zero have around 15 millions for a critical or something, and Wormhole had around 5 or 10. I don't remember, but they definitely did the biggest payout on the market so far. so, so yeah, that's because a lot of projects using them, and it's they hold pretty huge TVLs at that moment. Uh, by the way, what is your favorite discovered issue so far? Maybe something most complex or something of which you're proud of.
Yeah, so I would say I'm pretty proud of that one layer zero issue which I discovered with Tapioca DAO, and it was around this point of kind of blocking the layer zero pathway. So the application is experiencing like permanent DOS.
Oh.
I would say this is pretty complex. It's not just it was hard to discover by just looking at the code. So I was actually like deploying contracts to some of these cheaper chains like Polygon,
Mhm.
Avalanche, then sending transactions, trying it out, then debugging on Tenderly to discover some of these issues. I know for certain that after the Tapioca DAO ended, Tapioca DAO finished. Uh,
Yeah.
then in the next contests, I've seen people reporting my issue
The same, of course.
and referencing. So yeah, if you're competing in a competitive audit, you can be sure that if you find something unique, it no longer is going to be unique in 1 or 2
Yeah.
months when people pick it up and when it's on Solidity. And so I would say this one is pretty complex. Also, I sometimes these some issues with allowance can be complex since they spread across like multiple contracts.
Mhm.
So yeah, but most issues I find are just like business
Business
logic
logic. Yeah.
issues. So it's just
They are
unique
most
to the
common, of
protocol.
course. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the most
Uh,
common. Yeah.
that's why I don't think that AI will fastly replace us, because business logic issues are most common, and of course they're the hardest one in discovery, because you need to really understand the logic of how everything work and should work. Uh, do you do solo audits right now, or just public contest participation?
Yeah, so actually, I'm not doing any contests right now. Um, I I did like contests until March, so it's
Hmm.
been like 4 or 5 months. I haven't done any contests because I'm doing mostly like solo audits, also working with Spearbit, also working with some other like smaller audit groups.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's hard, man. It's hard to find the time. Once you get the solo audits rolling, once you can, you know, prove to someone that you can deliver, then you're just constantly going to get booked with new work. So yeah, unfortunately, don't have too much time for
Yeah.
competitive audits.
So what is your lead gen source? I mean, is it Twitter, or how you finding a new clients for it?
Yeah, so it's one source is Twitter. Another one
Hmm.
is just I try to connect with other researchers.
Uh-huh.
So just chit chat, talk about anything. So sometimes someone will reference someone else, especially
Yeah.
if it's around like layer zero and this type of stuff that they know that I'm kind of a hell of experience in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So these are the two sources, and the third one would be all these like competitive audits I did well. Usually, I will establish some contact with the project team, with the founders, and just offer them services. Sometimes nothing will happen for 5 months, but then all of a sudden someone will kind of reach
Oh
out
yeah.
to Telegram and say, "Okay, we're building this new thing. Are you free to check it out?" But to be honest, I most of my work is with other audit groups, so it's not that easy to handle all of this business related and work directly with the clients. Although the work I've been mostly like working the past few months with Spearbit, and that was like superb. So the pay is really good. Other
Yeah.
like teammates are really good. Everything is kind of handled for you. The business side is handled, so that has been great. I'd say.
Yeah, basically, it's like you outsource business and marketing outside and focus on what you do the best. What we mentioned it here so already a few times. I'm just curious that is it a common things to get a message in Twitter from project like, okay, guy, dude, I need an audit. Can you do an estimation for me? Because sometimes I don't know, like, is Twitter work as a lead gen?
It's not that common.
Okay.
So in order for someone to send you a message, you really need to stick out of the crowd. You need to do something really special. So this is either like you need to push a lot of content in a specific niche, or you need to have like an amazing competitive audit results.
Hmm.
um, we're kind of in this bubble of of auditors, but when I speak to like project owners directly, they they're hesitant to hire like just some independent auditor just based on what he's saying on Twitter, and even his competitive audit results, because people are still not sure how to value who provides
Yeah,
more
yeah, yeah.
value. Someone who's excellent at competitive audit, or someone who's been jamming private audits in a firm for 2 years. So people are still unsure, at least projects are unsure how to quantify
Yeah,
this.
it makes sense. Sometimes they just looking for a certificate of audit completion, and brand or Twitter announcement will be more valuable for them than the actually service. So it still depends. Um, okay.
Yeah,
Uh, do you like to work in a team? I mean, like not as a solo auditor, but in team of SpearbitDAO team, for example. You work in team of
Yeah,
three,
yeah,
if I'm
yeah.
not wrong. So
Yeah, it's mostly work team. My preferred way of working is in a team setup. It's just faster, you know. Everyone is just kind of throwing some ideas. With Spearbit, it's a very collaborative process.
yeah,
So the review is done in this Cantina, this like common platform that they built, and you can immediately like put comments on a specific line of code, and a client sees it, then other researchers see it. So it's a very collaborative process, and you also get this feeling of competitiveness. You know, you don't want to be the person that
yeah,
didn't find much or just reported some centralization risks or
yeah,
something
yeah.
like this. So you want to prove, you want to prove that you also can deliver. So it's for me, it's preferred way of working.
Yeah,
So
and of course you learn something from your teammates, and this is the main benefit from that. I think so
yeah,
because
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, you learn a ton. Yeah, it's
knowledge
the
sharing.
fastest
Yeah,
way to progress. Yeah, it's the fastest way to progress, especially if if your teammates are good, you're going to learn a ton. At least I have. So
what in your opinion is the fastest way for beginners to start earning money in Web3 Sec? What do you think?
the fastest way to earn money. Um,
Of course. The main question of every independent solo auditor.
yeah, this is what I think solo auditors just think about this all day long. How can I? Okay, jokes aside. The fastest way is just okay. You should find your strength. So for some people these will be I think for most people these will be competitive audits. So just do as many of these, but try to go into some depth. You know, don't. I know some people like do like 3 or 4 contests at the same time. That I'm afraid is not going to work.
Yeah,
But even if you don't cannot dedicate the whole duration of the contest, but you can dedicate 5 days, just pick one smaller part, one external integration, and try to drill into depth, and try to kind of learn something and try to report something unique. So this is one way. For others, it can be around content, even content creation.
hmm,
You can just start by pumping some content, and when you gain some traction, when people see, okay, this person can write a smaller article or a smaller thread, I think the best strategy at that point is to start reaching out to other companies and
oh, yeah,
start doing content for them, because at that point, and try to do some public work. So you can push content for, I don't know, any of these big platforms, but then request them to also reference your name directly. So you're kind of working on your reputation, you're getting paid, and you're learning. And this is a very very nice way of not doing it in a bubble, just but getting your kind of name out, and learning during the process. So I would say these are the 2 fastest ways. Obviously, the third one is just joining a company and just
oh, yeah.
grinding
Uh,
there.
the interesting thing is that when you trying to make some educational materials, uh, you're learning much more than just by reading articles, because you're trying to translate what you learned into reading form or something, and you need to dig really deep into that to not look like a fake, So it's also a good approach to learn something new. uh, where are you getting uh, news, or from which resources are you learning and boosting your skills to be up to date with all these new trends in crypto, in security, yeah, as well?
So it's mostly Twitter for some like fresh exploits, just some general trends. It's mostly from Twitter, but I'm a heavy user of Solidity, which I think Auditor should heavily abuse, because it's like a great database of a lot of issues. So my approach is usually, if I'm auditing something and it fits into a certain category, I will try to find all the similar issues on Solidity and kind of go through them, just to get a feeling what are the weak spots. Where should I look?
Focus. Yeah.
Yeah. So if it's layer 0, let's say, just type in layer 0 in Solidity and just try to go through 10-15 reports, and you'll immediately notice maybe these points I mentioned. Okay, there are always some issues with gas, there are issues with this. So this can direct you into into certain parts of code, which I think is quite beneficial.
Yeah, makes sense. But if you will start your job as a I mean, like, if you would start learning Web3 security right now in 2024 summer, what would you learn? Like, maybe other trends, maybe not Solidity, or it's a basic recommendation from very beginners. Like, where do you see the most um, exposure is right now in Web3 sec?
Yeah, you're true that there's a lot of competition with Solidity.
With Solidity, yeah.
Yeah, I know some people are getting heavily into Rust. There's a lot less competition there. There's also quite a lot of Rust competitive audits, on these popular platforms. I would also look into just some, niche languages for some of these infrastructure projects. So I think this is a good direction to go into. But even with Solidity, it's still highly attractive. So it's not like you're going to have a ton of competition. Even within Solidity, you can maybe specify for a certain type of bugs. If you like assembly, low-level code, you can just focus on that, and you won't have too much competition. Or pick some business domain, lending, borrowing protocols, AMMs, and so on. So this is a good direction to take. I mean, our industry is so new, so there are so many niches you can pick. So I wouldn't overanalyze there. But yeah, I mean, other languages have definitely less competition. I think that's pretty clear. To be honest, I haven't audited any any code base written in anything other than Solidity. But most of my colleagues tell me that they, for instance, didn't know Rust, then they jumped on a Rust code base, and they just focus on the business logic, and they're just finding issues. So I think that someone new starting can even pick like something like Rust, just focus on business logic. Don't deal too much with like Rust related things, and you'll be good.
Yeah, even with competition in Solidity, you also have more benefits from Solidity as a documentation, as a community, and as a materials from which you can learn. So yeah, okay. And if we are talking about type of the project, I mean, like, okay, layer 0 related projects are claimed by you, but what I can learn right now to to get paid? What would you suggest?
At this genre, I mean, I don't have any alpha, special alpha here. Just pick like general lending. That there are like a million lending and borrowing. It's a joke. It's a meme on Twitter that every day there is a new L2 and new lending and borrowing
Protocol, of course, yeah. It's
So for
most
every
popular
user,
type. Yeah.
Yeah, for every user there should be one lending protocol and one L2.
Yeah, of course. And Uniswap V2 forks as well. There are
Yeah,
also a bunch of them. It's like a benchmark already. So yeah, of course.
yeah,
Uh,
but I would just to add to that, I would center learning around the big protocol. For instance, you can take Curve, you can take Compound, you can take Aave. Just
yeah,
drill through that protocol. Maybe it will take you like a few months to be like semi-expert in it, but then so many opportunities will present
yeah.
to you. So many integrations with these protocols, so many forks, so many patterns employed there, which you'll see in other places. So it's definitely like high return work.
Yeah, definitely. I'm If I'm not wrong, the Compound V2 is the second most popular GitHub repo for it. So after the Uniswap V2, so yeah, it's definitely uh, you will have a lot of job to do if you will be good in that. Uh,
Yeah.
okay, um, what are your expectation from that cycle of crypto? I mean, like you've seen already the previous one, but you joined in 2021. Yeah, the
Yeah.
cybersecurity in crypto was not so popular as it is
Yeah.
right now. Definitely. And after that, we had a bear market, and even during that bear market, we had a lot of exposure for security related stuff and a lot of jobs and a lot of competitive audits, bug bounties, and everything. So, what are your expectations for that bull cycle? Will we do Uniswap V2 forks still?
Yeah, I think we're still there. Uh, I think we're like in a heavily. This is all like experimentation
Hmm.
phase with all these protocols, and I don't see. I mean, I'm not a heavy like DeFi user, so I
Okay.
cannot like comment from that perspective. But yeah, I mean, I think we have like several more, if not like 10 years of the
Ah, yeah.
same experimentation with these financial primitives, and I think we will probably at one point will reach a stage where, like, for instance, now Open Zeppelin offers these like battle tested contracts. Maybe we'll have
Hmm.
similar like building blocks for like different financial primitives. Because right now we're still in a phase where different AMMs, with different like curves are being like invented. But at one point, this will probably be like a exhausted space. So you'll have something that you will be able to use. But I think we're still like far away from that point.
Yeah,
To
sure.
to be
So
honest.
yeah, more landing protocols are coming. So don't worry about about your job. Okay.
No.
Uh,
Avalanche of landing protocols is coming.
yeah,
Hundreds, if
yeah,
not thousands, of new landing.
yeah. Still early. Still early. Learn how to audit them to find your first grid. Uh, okay. I believe we are out of questions. So if you have any final thoughts for our listeners, we would be happy to hear them.
Yeah. So, who are mostly the listeners of this channel? Maybe like beginner,
Yeah, it's mostly about
aspiring auditors.
beginners and crypto, Web3, cybersecurity engineers. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. If it's engineers, I think engineers are suspicious of what they read on Twitter. So when they see, I don't know, Pashov or some other researcher like earning 100K per month, they are highly suspicious of this. But all of these things are achievable if you just put the focus, if you're concentrated. and if you kind of grind through something. So for anyone like looking to do like a solo career, like a freelancer, I think now is the best time to enter. There's so many competitive audits, so many opportunities. You just have to focus on something and prove your worth. So I would encourage anyone to kind of give it a try, because it's very lucrative. A lot of young people, of like ambitious and positive people. So definitely something to recommend.
Yeah, there is still a lot of job here, so don't be scared and come in. We are waiting for you. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
okay. Thanks so much for joining us today. It was Josip Windhustler and Hagen Proof Web3 Security Podcast.